How do you, as an entrepreneur, ensure that the startup idea you have is the perfect match for the market? Hello everybody, this is Nitesh. Welcome to another video. In this video, I want to talk about design thinking. About 100 million startups are born every year. Now, about half of them fail within the first year, primarily because the product or service that they created was not something the market really needed. Now, obviously, a startup requires a better strategy before any amount of time or money or resources are spent. A strategy that allows a startup to make sure that the product or service is a perfect match for the market. Now, I think one of the best strategies to apply is design thinking. So what is design thinking? Well, design thinking is the process of putting the user or the customer at the center of everything. The customer is the core and everything else revolves around the customer, which means that the entrepreneur exists only because the customer requires a solution, which also means the entrepreneur must love the customer and not the product or the idea. In fact, many a times the product or the idea itself changes, modifies, or completely transforms into something else during test and research when the customer's needs are actually analyzed. If during the initial stages of a startup, design thinking process is applied, it is proven that the chance of success can be raised. Any solution, any product or service can be created using the design thinking process. It primarily involves 5 stages. These 5 stages are starting with empathizing with your customer, and then defining the problem based on the customer's gain points and pain points, and then ideating a solution that fits the match, that fits the customer's problems. And then you create your first prototype, your first version of the solution, and then you go on to test it. Now, it's very important to understand that the 5 stages, which are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, are not sequential. The entrepreneur can choose to move from one stage to the other without following the sequence. Alright, so the first stage in the process is empathize. This is the very beginning of the journey for a startup, for an entrepreneur. In this particular stage, he empathizes with his potential customers of the future. What he's trying to understand is what really are the problems that the customer or the user faces. Now, this is usually done over phone calls, meeting personally, face-to-face interviews with the customer. And of course, a lot of information is received, a lot of data points are received by the entrepreneur. Not all of them may or may not be relevant to the startup or the entrepreneur. So then he moves on to the second stage, where he actually defines the actual problem based on all of the data that he's received from potential target users. From this set of information that he's received from the customers, he then segregates all of the different data points into pain and gain. Yes, so pain points are the problems, the suffering of the customer that really require solving. Gain points are the extras, additional features that you can add to the product or solution to create a better feel, to package the product and the feel of the product better. So now, once you've identified the different pain points and the gain points that the customer experiences, you can move on to the third stage, which is ideation. This is where the entrepreneur or the startup creates a solution based on the problems that he has identified. Of course, it is impossible to come up with version 1 of your product that solves everything. That's a premium product, and that's usually in the later stages of a startup. Now, the first thing he's trying to do is create a prototype. To create the prototype, which is the 4th stage, the entrepreneur only needs to tackle and prioritize the main problem that the customer faces. All the extra features can be added on to the product later. But right now, for the prototype, for version 1, the only thing the entrepreneur needs to focus on is creating a product with just enough features that solves the problem of the customer. Now, it is essential to understand that the prototype, it doesn't really need to be a physical product. It could be something on paper. Basically, it is an idea of the actual product. So the idea has to be clear, all the different steps, all the different stages of experiencing the product or the solution or the service need to be elaborated in the prototype. A prototype could be a 3D model, it could be a dummy product, it could just be a description of the product. Now, once you have that, once the entrepreneur has the prototype, he can then test the idea of the solution. Again, with the same users with whom he had a chat earlier to identify the problems in stage one, he can go back to the same people, he can go back to the same users and share with them the idea of the product that he has ideated. So that is the final stage, the test stage. This is where he receives feedback on the solution that he has put down on the paper. Now, this feedback can be used to modify, adjust, and tweak all of the different things and features that he identified as the perfect ones. The users might have thought otherwise. So he's going to get all of this feedback, and then he uses this to create the final prototype that actually can work. Only then, once he's gone through this whole circle again and again, through the whole design thinking process, he begins to actually develop the product. Now, most of the startups don't go through this process in ideation. They don't think so deep before actually starting to develop a product. They have an idea and they want to get straight into developing the product. And of course, developing the product is not cheap. So they seek investors. They invest their own money and resources into developing the product before actually testing it. And that, as I initially said, can be the #1 reason of your failure. So apply design thinking from stage one. Make sure you have all of the analysis and research and data points with you that you use to make decisions, and only then you focus on developing a product that can then be launched in the market. The biggest firms, the biggest companies in the market today, Google, Amazon, Facebook, they're all applying design thinking from day one. Any new product, any new project that they come up with, the first step is design thinking. How do they ensure that the product or the service that they're ideating is a perfect match for their users? Design thinking. And that is the process that all of us as entrepreneurs should apply from day one before we start actually investing our time and money into the startup idea that we have. There is no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that startups that apply design thinking from stage one have a better chance of succeeding in a competitive market than those who are merely creating products and not really analyzing market needs. Thank you for watching this video. I hope the tips and strategies we discussed focused on design thinking can actually help you in your ideation stage as well. Let me know what you think. Comment below whatever your thoughts are. I'll be happy to reply back. Hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. See you until next time. Bye-bye. That is where the fireworks are happening in about 5 minutes, and I'm gonna show it to you. Let's hope you get a good view.